here we are at Salisbury Cathedral, where Dave Bullis was last week. Now, he told us that we were supposed to be meeting Edward Heath, but we phoned up, and apparently he's at the Tory conference up in Blackpool. So what we're going to do is going to meet some rock and rollers at the Red Lion, which is just around the corner, and see what they've got to say for themselves.
It's called Sing.
Well, here we are in the Red Lion in Salisbury. Stan Green, manager of the Trogs and many other bands. Pete Lucas, bass player in the Trogs. And Tich from Dave D. Dosy Mick and Tich.
Oh, Salisbury fame, Tich.
Salisbury fame. Tell me about Salisbury. We've come here to do a little profile on Salisbury. Tell me about it. Has it been a big influence in your career?
Yeah, I mean, I've always lived in Salisbury all my life. Wouldn't live anywhere else, to be quite honest. I just find generally it's a sort of a fairly warm place. You're not far from the sea, you're not far from London. I mean, it's ideal. Perfect.
What is it about music from the 60s that sort of, why did it take off in this area, I wonder? Pete, perhaps?
Yeah. The country scene, I think, really.
Yeah.
The Trogs, I mean, when I'm from London and I moved to Salisbury area in 63.
Yeah.
In 67, I suppose I'd met Tich, or 68. And, but the Trog thing as well, it was like a rural thing, and probably Andover sort of loved to see Dave D. They were like a fantastic harmony band in those days,
Yeah.
Dave D and the Bostons.
Yeah.
Whereas Salisbury, like, they loved the Trogs, didn't they, as well?
right,
Because
yeah.
they were like a rough. Well, you're not Reggie's
That's
like
right,
me.
that's right.
Pretty bloody rough, actually. but the Salisbury thing was like the Trogs, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
What do you think, Stan?
Well, I think that the 60s was introduced by Liverpool, really, from the Cavern days with the Beatles, the Jeans, the Mersey Beats, that sort of kind of group thing. You had the groups from London, like Brian Poole, groups from Manchester, such as Freddie and the Dreamers, the Hermits. And so the whole 60s period was really related to London, Manchester, but mainly Liverpool because of the Beatles, Cilla Black and that sort of thing. Suddenly you have from a rural area, Dosy Beaky, Dave D, Dosy Beaky, Mick and Tich, the Trogs. And all of a sudden we've moved from the big city to these country boys, and I'm sure that they've both been up to the big cities when it was the 60s and they were big stars, and everybody said, well, where are these guys from? Country bumpkins and
Oh, my
straw
dear.
sticking out of your
Well,
ear.
that's the thing.
The funny thing was, it was the Shadows were quite an influence, weren't they? Everybody stopped playing guitars and started singing, which
Yeah.
I think was sort of the turning point.
Well, perhaps they didn't think you could sing down sort of south of Watford.
Well, for me, I mean, my sort of introduction to it all really was, I suppose, Buddy Holly,
Yeah.
like so many others, Buddy Holly and the Shadows.
Yeah.
I mean, every band did Shadows songs and Buddy Holly songs, and I think it just grew from there.
I've always been I wouldn't say I'm a fan of 60s music. I just think it's good music, and it's going to stay. And I'm talking from a business point of view.
Yeah.
That these boys have been going since the 62, 63, and the Trogs 66 through. We're in 93 now. We're approaching nearly 30 years.
Easy, show you're liking it and love you know that we're gonna hit the heights, 'cause I'm sure that we're made to be together, just like pieces of jigsaw puzzle. What's the puzzle? Bend it just a little more without you, baby. I'm so insecure, but you can make me feel like I am sure I got a sickness only. You can just relax this back. Stop it, honey, please don't tease me. Try to please me.
The music of the 60s is good music anyway, because it stood the test of time. We're not saying we're fanatical about it, because we actually earn a living out of it, and I'm sure that the guys they enjoy playing still today.
Right.
But the 70s sort of died away for me personally, and the 80s certainly died away. And if I'm talking about what I'd like to do today, I'd like to be involved with these people, because they're really the kind of people that I know enjoy their work, and they are good professionals.
What's going to happen on the recording front?
recording-wise. I mean, the Trogs. I mean, since Stan's been with the band, it's 5 years now. I mean, we actually don't stop recording.
Right.
We're recording all the time. I mean, if
Yeah.
we're not doing a single, we're preparing for an album.
That's right.
If we're not doing an album, we've got people ringing up, celebrities that want to
Yeah.
record with the Trogs.
You're telling me about the thing with Oliver Reed. You did.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it's always Wild Thing. But, I mean, Reg, myself, and Chris would probably like to get away from Wild Thing,
Yeah.
but it's just such an international song that you just can't seem to get away from
Where
it.
we go in the world is amazing, isn't it? You hear
Well, I
it.
think you've got to remember that.
But we turn down a lot, don't we, for Wild
Yeah,
Thing?
I think you've got to remember that what we record now might be earning us a living in another 5 years' time.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how
It's
it
not the
works.
fact of whether it actually is charts or whether
Yeah.
it goes into such and such a chart in the Billboard or wherever.
Right.
I think you find if we've recorded something in '93, maybe we'll still earn something out of it.
Yeah.
You know, in the 20,000. That's why
Hopefully.
we record. Yeah,
If
we
not,
recorded.
he's sacked.
Right.
True, that's how it will be. Don't you know, I can't live without you. And don't you know, I'm falling in love. Don't you know, there's something about you that makes me ready for love.
We've recorded with REM and bands like that, but we're not saying that that's going to make a big change to us or do anything. All I'm saying to you is there's a few
You told
tracks...
us it would.
I tell lies. There's a few tracks there that I'll be able to use in a few years' time to put on compilations. Simple as that.
We get off a plane now. We're up at sort of like 4 o'clock in the morning. We travel to Germany. Time we get off the plane, actually get to the gig, it's like 5:30 at night. Time we get on stage, it could be 1 o'clock in the morning. Now you're talking getting on for like sort of 20 hours up without, you know, before you've even performed. But we still get on and do it. I bet there's not many people that do that in modern day music. No.
Just to go back to Salisbury, the City Hall, you must have played that when you first started. I know I did, but...
Yes. I can honestly say it was nice. 1 week we did it, and I think it was the week that the Stones were on. I mean, they used to have people on nearly every night of the week.
I met Tich, 68 or whenever it was, and not many of you know this, but
What,
I
you saw
was
that?
actually a DBM&T boy for on and off for about 8 years, wasn't I? Full time. And something happened in the late 70s when Tich organised it with a few other people, and it's the Salisbury people that wanted to see Dave D, Dosy Mick and Tich again on stage, because we were always in Germany and doing things like that. And we used to do this Christmas show, didn't we, Tich? And it was so successful, wasn't it? It was amazing. And it made me feel good as well, you know. This is in between Reg, I think. But anyway, that was a very successful, talking about the City Hall. It really was, wasn't it? And we had some guests then, didn't we? Rick Parnell, from, you know, playing with us, drumming wise, and XTC we had, didn't we? They play, and we got this thing going in the City Hall, and I actually thought the City Hall was going to take off again through that.
So what's happened to it now? Is it still functioning?
No,
now?
actually, it's up again, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're working hard.
All together sing. Bend it, bend it, just a little bit and take it. Show you're liking it. La 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 la.
What's this place in Salisbury?
This
Where
is
are
the
we?
Market Square in Salisbury,
Yeah.
and behind you is the Guild Hall, which has probably been there.
Well, many years.
Yeah, before the town.
Used to be the main courthouse, if you like, in Salisbury.
Still is.
Well, no, it's moved.
Has it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's now the Alexander Rooms, where we
These
used to
are
go and
the-
see Mick Fleetwood.
Mick Fleetwood, yeah,
Yeah.
another local boy.
Didn't they have the market here the other day?
That's right.
Tuesday.
Mondays.
Yesterday. We were here yesterday.
Monday,
No,
Saturday and
yeah.
Monday.
Oh, right.
Market day.
But this is where
Yeah.
I must admit I've been up those steps on not several occasions, but at least once or twice for
Maintenance.
motoring offences. Actually, there was a triviality about something about that.
Yes, I recall that very well.
Something to do about your son, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You were saying he looked rather like Reg.
Well, he's 42 years old now. I mean, pleasure this morning. Manages me, and now he's left me.
Now, I want to tell you a story about a bloke when we were in a hotel in Holland.
No.
Try to